Andy and Paul of OMD talking about Alcatraz.
Alcatraz, the island. It was a revelation to us, actually, the first time we were in San Francisco, to discover that Alcatraz is in San Francisco. I didn't even have an idea it was even an island. It's just some sort of mythical place in American history, isn't it? And lo and behold, we were walking down this hill one day and somebody says, "That's Alcatraz down there." So, first time we were there, we didn't get a chance to see it. But second time...
We originally went there for a photo session, but it just turned out to be...
sightseeing,
yeah.
It's in the bay, like San Francisco, sort of on a promontory with the Golden Gate going over, and then inland is like the huge bay area, and the island is in there, and like it's been sort of historically a fortification, but it wasn't a prison till 1929, I think. You tend to think of it as being like eons old, but it was only a prison for about 30 odd years. I think they closed it in 1963. They did have like the heaviest prisoners of the time in there. Al Capone was in there, things like that. But that wasn't the most important thing, really. The building itself was just so impressive, wasn't it? It was intimidating as hell. But it's just a bloody rock in the middle of a bay, actually.
Do they have a sort of museum section, you know, full of...
Well, the whole thing is the whole thing is a museum in itself. They do day trips, and so we went for a wander around taking photographs, and we just got really entranced by the whole thing. It's basically the main prison section is just a huge empty building. And the prison blocks are built inside it like big Lego blocks, and they're about 3 tiers high. All the doors open together from one end. You can't open. You don't go and unlock one door. You have to open them from the end. It's like huge, like levers and everything, and you select door number 1 at the end, and then you go like that. Or you can select them all and open them all up. And it's really it's very imposing.
Do they have any sort of tributes there to people who try to escape?
Well, very few have escaped. They and those that did sort of got drowned in the bay because it's bloody freezing in the bay. And the governors used to have sort of like they used to have specific means of actually making it. If prisoners did escape, like the whole thing was that they used to feed them really well. They used to have really hot showers, so they could never get acclimatized to cold, being cold or anything. They used to look after them really well, keep them pampered, so that they could, if they got out, they'd be really exposed. It wasn't like they could build up sort of like some sort of stoic bodybuilding course and like make themselves really Spartans. Because the great thing for us, with being sort of grim little bastards that we are, we were trying to ask the guy, how many people had died and everything, and he was sort of like, well, wait till after, because he didn't want to, because there's all these kids and these old ladies and things, and so we collared him at the side, and
there's some really grim
really horrible tales of how people had committed suicide.
What sort of, were there any examples?
There was one where the beds lift up on chains, and what they used to do is just wrap the chain around their head and just drop the bed. And
smash their neck to pieces.
Yeah, right. And there was another one whereby they used to get a pencil, sharpen a pencil, and then pick the vein out, and then just bite through it, vein in the wrist, and they're off.
What a way to go. So there's some really nice grisly tales there. And,
there was one amazing bit where we went into the solitary confinement cell. It was just unbelievable. They locked us in there for about, was it a minute or 2 minutes?
Yeah.
What, to get you to feel?
It was pitch black. You couldn't see anything in it, and it was all metal. The whole thing was like sheet steel, and it was freezing cold in there, and we all had to bloody red coats on.
Yeah, they used to put them in there naked.
They went in there naked for like sometimes 19 days at a time, and apparently the only way you could survive in there without getting sort of like hypothermia, because everywhere you touched was like freezing steel, was to spend most of the time crouched on the floor on the tip of your toes, your knees, and your elbows with your forehead resting on your knuckles like that.
So you have the least amount of touch in the metal. God, that's unbelievable.
So it was...
And there's no way you could get any light in there, because you could actually see like light around the cracks, but it was just so fine that it would never light.
You couldn't see anything.
You couldn't tell in the darkness.
It must have been pretty soulless.
And the guards' families used to live on Alcatraz too, didn't they?
Just imagine growing up there, and your father being a warden or something.
It's and that was, I think that was one of the reasons why they closed it in the end in 1963. It was uneconomical because they keep having to shift out, you know, gallons of water every week. All the food had to go out there, and not only were they keeping the prisoners, but they were keeping the guards. So in the end, they just packed it in, and now it's a lucrative tourist attraction. Love it.
A lot of postcards.
Yeah, they have in fact had prisoners go back there as tourists, but very often very often they get off the boat and they just can't take it and actually sit on the quay all the time and go into the prison. But it's anyone who's in San Francisco, we recommend it. It's a real culture shock.